We've talked to all three suspects, purely based on their conversations with me.
None of them sounded particularly suspicious.
I suppose. Anyway, even...
But where should we start? Ah, you're right!
According to Jacques... If I had to guess, he probably received an order from the synth boss to kill my father. Had he refused, he and his family...
So, Jacques fired the first shot?
Oh? And why is that?
Ooh, that's a good point.
So, what would make more sense from his perspective would be to turn his back on the order and seek protection from my... Makes sense. But without evidence, besides Jacques, the attack from the Gardamet, it's obvious that our enemy...
Do you think he knew?
Given everything that's happened since... But who among the three suspects would have the ability to control privately owned Gardamex? Florent? It is true that he was... But... Spina...
So you're saying he's...
Exactly. He can't. And even if he could, I don't think he would be able to dispatch a whole group so quickly. Thierry, you say? But I didn't feel like he was lying when he was talking to us.
Yeah. If the mecha were taken from the guards, it should be pretty easy to find out.
Uncle Marcel? And with funds from the Confrérie, it's still really hard. Also, wouldn't this mean he has been spending a whole lot of Mora and energy to fight? Who could it be? You know, if you think everything...
Could we be missing other suspects?
The suspect is not... Even if I don't want to believe it, I'm starting to see how things could...
Well, we still have another trump card on top of all the theorizing and speculating.
Yes. We need far more...
Navia, here you are.
Huh? Aren't you the guy?
Yeah. News came from Irenaeus just after you left. We've got an...
Wasn't that place built specifically for...
I know. But they said the person they're putting on trial is a Fatui harbinger called Tartaglia.
What? Is that...
Yeah, we know him. Maybe even a little too... Well...
Wait, how? None of our investigations have...
That's what I thought was strange about it, so I came to tell you the news. If the charge against him stands, then it'll be next to him.
Right.
Yeah. And it'll be...
Huh? Split up? What do you mean? Just as expected. Since this is a trial, you're right. This is our best opportunity. All right then, let's do this. I'll stall them at the Opera House and charge Marcel as the true culprit. I won't have any chance of making that charge stick, though, unless we find more evidence. It'll be up to you to make it back in time.
We'll help you.
Demoiselle, please allow us to accompany you.
I'm ready.
Malou, Silver, when did you two get...
We heard that you'll be leaving Poisson and figured that you might require our assistance. It's our hope that your confidence will be bolstered.
See you then! Now that Navia has set out for Irenaeus, we should also get going. The location has already been marked on the map, so let's head over. According to Malus's info, the synth production base is underwater. Let's go and try to find the entrance. So this is the entrance that leads to the synth production base. It sure doesn't... Ah, you're right. An important place like Navia's probably arguing up a storm...
It would appear that I must repeat my question again. Do you accept the charge that you are the true...
To be perfectly honest, I don't understand your country's complicated court system, or the reason why... However, I did hear... In which case, as long as I accept the charge, I can have an all-out fight with that champion duel. I've got to admit, that's one of the most enticing... When I privately sparred with her last time, she was obviously holding back. Real.
Hey! Don't you understand? You're currently the prime suspect.
Oh? Sounds like the Hydro Archon wants to lecture me on the ways of... Then why don't you duel me too? I'm the kind of student that learns best in the...
No.
Alas, it would appear that communication with the defendant is In that case, let me explain everything from the very beginning again.
That case had nothing to do with him. You've got the wrong man.
Huh? What's going... Why is she interjecting?
I told you it couldn't be one of the Fatui Harbingers.
Miss Navia, this is the second time you've interrupted the court proceedings. I only tolerated your behavior last time, but that was an exception rather than...
Oh, please. Did you ever... We can put that discussion aside for now. And if my charge is...
Oh, a young lady has charged in and offered to clear my name. How fascinating. Well, I'd gotten half bored to death by all these rules and... So, Your Honor, is there nothing else for...
You may take a seat for now in the audience, but that doesn't mean the suspicions against you have been lifted. Now then, Miss Navia, who is the person...
That person is... Something's not... Marcel, the head of Confrérie of Cabrier...
Huh? What confrérie? Never...
I've heard of them, but weren't they...
Oh, is this going to be a friends to enemies type situation?
Please let me remind you, Miss Navia, that charging someone is an incredibly serious matter. And if the charge fails, depending on the circumstances...
Yes.
In that case, members of the guards, please contact Mr. Marcel right... Mr. Marcel, you will not require an attorney.
Apologies, sir. It all just happened so quick. I think an attorney won't be necessary.
Very well. In that case...
I would like to take everyone back to 3 years ago. To the case only through elucidating what really happened in that case.
Navia, come on. If that's enough to make me a suspect, wouldn't that make everyone at that...
Exactly correct, Your Honor.
I see. In which case, I will recount the findings about that case as originally recorded by Maison Gardiennage. On the day of the murder, Spina di Rosula hosted a large banquet in a countryside estate owned by the Confrérie of Cabrier. During the banquet, all attending guests heard. When the guests arrived at the scene, the guards' investigation did not recover any other firearms from the scene. The suspect did not dispute this conclusion, and also Callis was defeated by Champ. These are the known facts about the case.
The one with the motive to kill was Jacques, not my father. And even so, Jacques still had no reason to pull the trigger. In truth, the third person shot Jacques first, and was after that, the true culprit turned the third person into water. Thank you for the summary, Your Honor. Of course. However, we should read... Something's not... The testimony of the victim's family confirms that Jacques had thoughts of assassinating Callus when he set out for the banquet. However, in the end, unfortunately for Jacques. This assassin. A pile of beneficent. Realizing this, the true culprit caused the.
that's what happened. Wait, you're telling me something as dangerous as water from the primordial sea has been used for all...
What a great theory. It also explains Callus's and Jacques' respective motives. I guess they didn't shoot each other after all.
Mr. Marcel, you are the one being charged with the crime. You should provide a rebuttal if you wish to prove your innocence.
But I think I agree with everything Navia just said. In fact, there was nothing in her speech that directly implicated me.
Then, may I ask some questions? In my opinion, we primarily need to determine two things. One, do you have the evidence to back up your claims?
I'm afraid not. At least not at this very moment.
Boo! If you don't have any evidence, you should just go home!
I may not have the evidence. We should be able to find him. Considering the serial disappearances...
That makes sense to me. Monsieur Neuvillette, I would consider this to be a reasonable investigative direction.
Why do I feel like Farina's acting a little differently today?
Maybe she's scared of embarrassing.
Alternatively, she's become more diligent after charging an innocent citizen in the last trial.
My second question has to do with the ensuing duel. If the truth is then why didn't Mr. Callus explain himself in court? If he had testified that a person had been dissolved, he could have at least mounted a defense.
I've thought about this too, and the answer is actually pretty simple. He felt there were things that were more important to him. The dissolving power of water from the primordial sea is an important secret for the true culprit of the serial disappearances case. My father could have exposed it for all to see, but he chose. At that time, Spina di Rosula was in dire straits, and his reputation had already... What was certain, however, was that it would pay...
Boss once told me that Demoiselle had already been selected as the next target.
What?
If the secret had gotten out, the culprit would have fought an all-out war with Espina right there and then. I wouldn't have been the only one in danger. All of us would have... Of course, the guards might eventually figure out the truth of... But what good would that do? How can a hollow verdict protect anyone? Had this opera house ever given my father any kind of confidence in its brand of justice, Spina di Rosula would have had no reason to exist. But by staying silent, we retain the ability to deter our opponents and continue the stalemate. I was able to become Spina di Rosula's president, which made me harder to target, as well as giving me more time to grow and learn. And once I have figured out the truth and stepped up to the challenge, I will do what this opera house cannot, and restore my...
So, you mean to say, your father in...
That's right.
Do you have any proof?
Of course. All you need is to ask his opponent, Clarand. I don't need your apology, your guilt, or your support from the shadows. You don't have to do anything for my sake. But since he entrusted his will...
So, during the...
Yeah, as a champion duelist, I've fought many battles and taken a countless number of dishonor in my line of work. I've seen all kinds of people. Will give their all. Just one look and I can tell if I hereby swear on my name and honor as a champion duelist that Mr. Callus never intended to leave the ring alive.
Since that's your testimony, I have no...
I concur. However, Miss Navia, you still have not explained the link between your father...
Right? What she said was fascinating.
Wait, weren't they just talking about...
Of course, Your Honor. The two cases are connected via a matter of timing. In my father's case, the culprit intended to kill both Jacques and Callus. As a result, they planned to act after hearing 2 gunshots. And, at the end of Linny's trial, the culprit also only dissolved the victim in front of everyone because they realized they were at risk of being identified. The culprit could only time their actions so precisely if they were already at the scene. Coincidentally, Marcel attended both the banquet and the trial.
So that's why you suspected me. Even after hearing your reasoning, I still can't help but find it a little preposterous. I'm used to it, though. You've always been an impulsive and sentimental child, Navia. It's one of your most endearing traits.
No need to appeal to pathos.
I won't try to refute your points one by one, but even if everything you just said was true, can you prove that I was the only person present at both events? On top of that, does a person have to be physically present to control the timing? Can't someone—
I don't know what you can say to that.
I know that even with that, you might still think you can reduce the list of suspects. Alas, who won't feel at least a little hurt by an accusation of— But if I were to dismiss this completely, you'd also think I'm not being considerate of your feelings. Ah well, let Uncle Marcel teach you another lesson. Do you know what the biggest flaw in your reasoning is?
I suppose you're gonna tell me anyways.
It's timing again. I'm a businessman by trade. From that standpoint, there's no reason for me to kidnap young women. It's a high-risk action with nothing to gain. In addition, I left my home in Snezhnaya when I was young to come to Poisson and work in some trade. My business only thrived when I received Callus's patronage. But the disappearances began before I ever stepped foot in Fontaine.
I do apologize, Demoiselle. This was my mistake.
No, it's not your fault. I'm sure he had come prepared.
Is there anything else you'd like to say? Would you like to check the date of my first business license against the first known case of the serial disappearances? You can also take a look at my border entry records, or ask my friends and family when I left Snezhnaya for the first time. Could those records and testimonies do something to appease the unspeakable anguish in your heart?
Seems like she got the wrong guy. At this rate, Navia will be convicted for falsely accusing him.
I think you've done a superb job of dissecting your father's feelings as he neared the end of his life. But aren't you going against all of his wishes and expectations right now? He wished for you to become more rational, collected, and conscientious, instead of dwelling only on your own feelings. Once you've learned to be more considerate of others' feelings, and to stop rushing headlong into things, you'd have met most of his expectations.
This isn't just about me, and it never has been. The biggest difference between me and the rest of the victims is that I still have the ability to search for the truth, while that same agency has long been taken from them. The people whose families were destroyed by synth abuse, the people who lost their loved ones to the serial disappearances, and the people who suffered tragic ends due to their sense of justice. Many people's images are flashing before my eyes. I'm sure some are coming to those of you in the audience as well. And whose image do you see, Marcel? Is it a man named Vacher? Oh, so you do know that name.
I'm merely surprised you'd suddenly say the name of someone I've never even heard of.
I was waiting for you to say that.